brought me into this world, opened my eyes, kept all the demons at bay, my ally in life. So many times.
From your very first script to a role on the next starship and everything in between, Sacramento Film Works is your one-stop shop for all things filmmaking. I'm your host, Klein Moore.
And I'm your co-host, Kenesha Allen. Sit tight and stay tuned because we've got an amazing show lined up for you. In fact, our guest today, everybody's seen this guy.
Everybody in the universe has seen this guy.
Exactly. Sit tight and stay tuned. We'll be right back. Woo!
So our guest tonight has taken his role and expanded it beyond imagination. And in fact, he's done that in many areas of his life.
He certainly has. This guy is an actor, he's a producer, director, and a musician. And like we said before, you guys have all seen this guy. We'd like to welcome Mr. Tim Russ to the show. Thank you. So we just want to jump right in. Who's Tim Russ? Who is Tim Russ the man?
Well, Tim Russ the man is someone who's been very, very, very lucky in his personal life and in his professional life over the years. I can't say enough about how a certain degree of fortune in one's destiny plays such a major role. The doors, if you're lucky enough to be in front of them when they open, what you can do once you walk through there, is something that you can control to some degree in terms of what you've studied and learned, what you've taken with you from your parents and your life experiences. But just being able to have those doors available to you makes a huge, huge difference. So these days, that's a lot of what I think about.
All right, so you are a man that takes advantage of an opportunity, is what I see.
If I get the opportunity, I certainly will.
There you go.
Absolutely.
All right.
And building, though, a life's work, you've gotten a chance to do so many different things that have given you the background to, they say that opportunities come, but if you're not prepared, then what opportunity really is it? So talk a little bit about your preparation. What have you done to get ready for this?
Well, when I was younger, I took classes and things in acting and theater, and I went to college to pursue that as well. So I went to graduate school and postgraduate school as well to study theater specifically.
Oh, wow.
And then I took a little break after that, and then eventually moved to Los Angeles to pursue both music and acting. And as it were, the music certainly played a part in the beginning of my career, just in terms of keeping me alive, as it were, paying the rent and bills.
Sure.
I was working, playing music at night in clubs, and I was able to pay the rent and bills and things, and still have the days open to pursue my acting. Eventually, the acting took over and took off, and that sort of, as far as the music took a backseat at that point in time, because the acting work at the time was really much more available and much more consistent.
Okay. Sure. So you have to take your brain from music to acting. I mean, that's a talent within itself to be able to kind of navigate both of those two very artistic kind of projects, right?
Yeah, I started music when I was 16. I started playing guitar and eventually started singing along with that as well. And that's always been part of my life. The acting is very, very different unless you're doing musical theater or something like that. It's very similar to playing in a band in front of an audience, etc. If you're doing film and television, that's definitely an adjustment. There is such a vast difference between the two styles of work as an actor between working live stage and working in television and film. So that was an adjustment, yes. If you're doing, like I said, musical theater, live performances, things like that, it's very similar to playing in a band. It's not much different.
A lot of rehearsals.
A lot of rehearsals,
Yeah.
and it's live. So and you have a live audience. It doesn't stop and start. It's it's a whole different energy to doing that.
Well, everybody knows there's no such thing as an overnight success. So obviously you worked your craft in all the arenas for some time, but how'd you get your big break?
I was very lucky at the time when I came into to Los Angeles. I already had my union card, my SAG card, and I had a little bit of a demo reel. I had already worked professionally while I was in college. I went to school in Austin, Texas, and studied theater there. And I worked professionally before I left college. I worked on Masterpiece Theater with Glenn Turman. I worked in a local episodic show that took place there on cable. And by the time I got to Los Angeles, I at least had my union card, and I had something of a demo reel I could show to someone.
Sure.
I was at a couple of different agencies, small agencies, some of which, closed up or cut me or dropped me or whatever. At the time, everybody goes through that phase. And finally, I got within a small agency that hired a lady who had only been an agent for 6 months. She was selling used cars before that.
Wow.
But she was really good at selling used cars.
All right.
So consequently, she was very good at getting me in the door. She got me in the door for a really good project with Paramount. And from that point forward, I never looked back. I was lucky to continue on doing some films and then working into television more consistently.
Okay. You and I were talking before, and you kind of mentioned that as an actor, you kind of get typecast in a sense, right, with certain types of roles.
Yeah. Well, you want to say typecast? Yeah. In a sense, you're everybody who wants to pursue this line of work in front of the camera. You are essentially a product. Okay. You are something that represents a character on screen. And especially for television, it's all very cookie cutter. If you have this sort of nerdy look about you, the glasses are crooked, the ears are, whatever, this nerdy sort of computer look, that's what you're going to end up playing.
Klein would fit that role.
Oh,
well.
I definitely would.
And the thing about it is, if you are really good at that, you hone that skill, and so those roles you go up for, you get really good at doing those parts, and you'll keep doing those parts over and over again. Now, you might be able to expand here and there as you get more work under your belt and more studying. You might be able to get out of that a little bit, but for the most part, that's where you are. So if you're the ingenue, if you're the sexy friend, if you're the heavy-set friend, the funny character, the laugh, all that stuff, the killer, with a scar. I mean, those guys, you've seen them. Everybody out there has seen these people. Yeah. They watch television. You see the same kind of looks every day. You see the same characters every day. When they walk through the door before they open their mouths, you know who they are.
Well, let's take a look at some of the products that you've put out there. And we've got a clip that's going to show a little bit of the demo stuff that you've done.
Thank you. How do you know about Dubai?
We cultivated another source.
What kind of settlement are you looking for?
One that includes punitive damages.
Send Inez in here, please. When your colleague approached her, she came straight to us.
And have you had to reinvent yourself over the years, or is this something where, you kind of still finding the same roles, and are there plenty of them?
No, as far as the acting roles that I've played, the majority of the material that I usually go up for and usually end up booking are the similar types of roles, and whether it's a detective, the principal of a school, a cop. I think I've played 3 principals in the last year. I've read for 5. The detective, the military person, the doctor, the lawyer. I play these kinds of roles all the time, particularly for television. Now, where you get a chance to spread your wings these days is with independent film projects. So in my body of work, the most interesting roles that I've done have been in indie films. And they continue to be so, because an independent film it's one person's vision generally, and they can expand and stretch out in terms of their concepts and things, whereas television is trying to tell a story in 42 minutes. And they don't have time to play around, so if people are scratching their head about why somebody looks the way they do, if they don't fit a character, then they just lost the audience. So
and you got a lot more latitude.
You got a lot more latitude in a film, and it's a personal project generally. So you're telling a story that stands alone. And so you get a chance to go up for and do roles that are much more interesting, and you can spread out a little bit and do some different things.
So has that kind of influenced you in kind of navigating yourself into becoming a producer and director and all that, just to create more opportunities for your acting style?
Well, the opportunities came for directing and other things came from my work on Voyager, the series.
Okay.
Because I got to that particular level in my career, being a regular on a series that was on for a number of years, I was able to I had the opportunity on that show to intern as a director, to learn how to direct,
Okay.
and to direct one of their episodes as well, and then consequently beyond that to do other directing work. It also opened up the doors for voiceover work as well. That was just because of the plateau that you reached from being on a show like that.
Sure.
Okay.
Whereas I was doing episodic television before that for 12, 13 years, pretty much straight. And then some other series that were short-lived and things like that. So once you get on one that's successful and has somewhat of a profile like Star Trek has, it just opened up more doors and opportunities that came available to me. Before that, I didn't have those opportunities.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's a really interesting tidbit, because I think that most actors wouldn't know that if you could kind of work your way up or kind of navigate through other roles on a set.
Yeah. Yeah, if the opportunity is there for you, we talked about that. The producers made it available for you to be able to intern behind the scenes on the show for several years before you had a slot that came available. These days, if you're not on a show or series, then based on the technology that we have available now, which was not so much available when I started out, you can make your own films. You can make your own project. You can write, direct, and produce your
Everyone
own
with an
project.
iPhone now
Anyone
is
with just
able
even an
to.
iPhone, yes, can do that and post it so that the world can see it.
Right.
And who knows, from that step, maybe a number of downloads and hits to the point where, wow, maybe we could make something out of that. And all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're the buzz. So that opportunity now is available to far many more people out there than there was before.
Yeah, well, we can't overstate the profile that Star Trek and all of its manifestations has had. And when we come back from a break, we're going to talk a little bit more about Star Trek and the legacy. Sacramento Film Works is sponsored by the Northern California Filmmakers Coalition, which provides filmmakers an opportunity to learn and network with professionals in the filmmaking industry in the Sacramento region. Join us each Wednesday at 6 p.m. at Access Sacramento, 4623 T Street, Suite A. We'll see you in the movies.
Welcome back to Sacramento Film Works. We're here with our guest, Tim Russ, actor extraordinaire. We're going to just jump right back in. So, Tim, you read for the part of Geordi on Voyager, right?
It was actually Next Generation.
Next Generation.
The very first incarnation of the Star Trek series when they brought it back.
Okay.
Was Next Generation, and I was up against LeVar Burton for that role.
Who's also from Sacramento.
Also from Sacramento, actually. And Roddenberry decided upon putting him in over me at the time. Not only, that LeVar was actually perfect for that role. I mean, did a great job on that role, but he was the only recognizable name in the United States as part of that cast. And so they wanted at least some name from this country. And so he got that role. And consequently, it just meant that I had an open door to come back and read for subsequent episodes for guest starring roles, which I did for several years. Before being booked on Next Generation, and then Deep Space Nine, and then one of the features. And so that whole process of getting Voyager was 7 years. It was a long
Long
did not
time,
happen
huh?
overnight. So
Well, talk about your character, Tuvok.
that character, obviously based on Leonard Nimoy's character, Spock in the original series, was they wanted to bring that character back, and initially Tuvok was supposed to be much older when the character first came out as a breakdown. He was much older on camera. He would be roughly 65 or 70. So they decided to roll back the age after a while and just make that change, and that gave me the opportunity to come and read for it. And the character, for the most part, is for me as an actor was not difficult to play, because as an actor you train your whole life to learn how to show a range of emotions. Sure. And here's somebody I played for 7 years that doesn't. So that's consistent with this business. What is it? There are no rules and they are strictly adhered to. So you never know what's going to happen, what's going to come across the table, and as it turns out, I mean, my friends all joke with me about the fact that they look at me and said, yeah, how difficult is it for you to play the role like that when you're like that to begin with? I said, all right.
Those are your friends.
Some of that may be true, but at the end of the day, the character was a lot of fun to play, because he was always juxtaposed to the people who were human on the ship, and that's always fun. So he's a foil for that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. Well, we're going to take a look at a movie that you have directed,
yes.
Renegade.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and toss to that.
And yet the menace of the years finds me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. Not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I will bring the Federation to their knees for what their portal did to us. I will make them suffer the same fate we did.
Fantastic. You're going to want to watch Star Trek Renegades, and this is amazing. I mean, and you've got a million followers. I mean, I got so many people out there. They're just waiting. They're hanging on every word. Trekkies are world renowned for being devout, zealot-like. You can't give them enough. So tell us a little about Renegades.
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
When I was on Voyager, the producers allowed me the opportunity to work to intern for directing behind the scenes. So that's observing on set, that is sitting with the editors, and as they cut the raw footage that's shot that day or the day before together into scenes, to sit in on the producers' screenings of those edited scenes, and to sit in on production meetings as well, pre-production meetings, etc. So you get the whole behind-the-scenes aspect of putting together a show.
So you're doing double duty. You're
acting on it as well as that. Yeah, and I did it for about 3 seasons before I had a chance to shoot the first one I did. Renegades, consequently, is an independent project. I worked with that producer before. I do play a Tuvok in the piece as well for a few scenes. And at the end of the day, having the chance to be able to learn how to do that and also to work with a very talented number of people. My director of photography is extraordinary. It's a very close relationship, director and the DP, the director of photography, because he's the person that's going to light your piece, and also you will work with him in terms of camera placement, what kind of shots work well or what don't. And if he's a very good DP, if he comes up with a very good idea for a shot, an angle, the direction, a way that the composition is, you'd be smart to take it. because that's only going to make your project look that much better. So I was very lucky to have that opportunity. So yeah, Renegades essentially, it is a story that takes place beyond Voyager, about 11 years. It deals with Section 31, which is the Black Ops sort of covert section of the Federation. And there's a cast of renegade characters, rogues, misfits, outcasts, who are brought together to fulfill this mission that cannot be done, to the general knowledge of the Federation. So that's it.
Well, this will be my first one that I will watch, and I will see this.
And there's a couple of characters then, Tuvok and a few other recognizable characters from earlier.
Yeah, we have a few characters from the series. Manu plays the Borg Icheb in this as well. We have Gary Graham playing a role in there. He's been on Trek before. Myself, Walter Koenig is one of the leads as well.
But there's some changes, right?
Yes, there's a few changes here and there. A couple of the characters are a little bit different than how you saw them before. Icheb's character, for example, is older and different, a little bit more edge to him and things. So there's some other characters who are from other sci-fi entities. Adrienne Wilkinson plays the lead, and she was in another sci-fi series before that. So there's a number of people in there who are different. Bob Picardo also plays in it as well from our show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff.
Well, I can't wait to hear a little bit more about that, and also some from our studio audience when we come back. If you'd like to be a member of our studio audience, to meet and greet film industry professionals, visit our website at ncfc.tv.
Welcome back. We're here with our guest, Mr. Tim Russ. So now we're just going to jump right into some of our audience questions. And the first one comes from Marcus, and he wants to know, how do you stay in the moment as an actor?
Well, sometimes you don't. I mean, what happens is you might lose that moment that you're in. It's a question of focusing on the circumstance that you're in. If you have something to draw from as personal experience and you're playing this part and you have something that happened to you, it's much easier. If you don't, you have to put yourself in that circumstance. What if?
Okay.
And most of acting is listening to the other person. So if the other character gives you something, you take that, let it sink in, and then respond the same way you would do it naturally.
Okay.
And that's the best way to do it, is to focus on what the other actor is giving you. And if you've got somebody that can do that, that you're working with, it helps a lot. Right. But you have to find something in that scene or in that circumstance or in that character that you can lock onto, something you can identify with.
You got to be a good listener.
Got to be a very good listener, yes.
Something you don't know how to do.
Oh, look at you. No, but I'm a good talker, and I'm going to ask this next question. This is coming from Brian. Having directed Bloomers and Renegades, where do you think the future of these type of projects are going, and how is it going with web series?
Well, it's like in watching the feature film The Artist, one of the things about that movie was the fact that you saw this change from silent films to talking films. And then we had the transition from radio to television, and now we have, the internet.
Right.
We have the web. And this is the newest incarnation of change in technology in terms of media.
It's revolutionary.
This is wide open. It's revolutionary. People aren't even sure where it's going. But you're going to get is a pyramid of material that can be produced now because of the expense, the technology that's available, and just a tiny bit of room at the top. So this is what we're going to have to deal with as far as where is all this material going to go, how many channels are there going to be, how many, it's all going to be dispersed in terms of what people look at and watch. And the only ones who are going to get the focus of the majority of the audience are going to be the ones who either spend the money on promotion or the projects that themselves that catch a buzz. Okay. So it's going to be that viral show or video where that catches everybody's attention.
Or the ones that have a following like Star Trek.
Or the ones that already have a fan base, but that fan base is generated by a lot of money having, developed on a series, a regular television show. And again, that's, if you want, anything can be promoted, to the hilt. I mean, you put up a billboard in every city with some picture on it and a name, and everybody's going to say, what the heck's that? And then if they see it enough, they're going to know what it is. So that anytime they come across it, I could use an example, a movie called The Room, which was which is on a billboard in LA for 2.5 years, and nobody knew what it was. And I saw it by accident on Adult Swim one night. I was clicking the channel, and the movie was on there, and I didn't realize it until the lead character comes in, because his face was on the billboard. And I knew, that's the room! I'm not going to say what kind of film it is and or how good or bad it is. It's god-awful, but the point is. The point is, it was recognized by everybody who lives in the city of Los Angeles. That's a big city, simply because he had it on a billboard for 2.5 years. Yeah. That's all. That just the billboard alone gave you that. So again, you know, it's either the project gets on the web or gets on the internet or gets wherever, and people talk about it and it becomes a buzz, or you have enough funds and power and clout to get it out there so that people can hear the name, hear the word, see the this, see the that. Exactly. And that's it. I mean, that's essentially what you have, and that you're going to need a lot of it, because that pyramid's going to be real wide at the base. Yeah. You know, everybody in this room can produce a show now. Everybody in this room can shoot a film now. It's a camera and a laptop. Okay? Essentially, that's what it is. A camera and a laptop. So that's it. That opens up, you know, 300 million people in the United States to do it.
That's what we're using.
So one last question before we let you go. This question comes from Kayla, and she wants to know, what's your best acting tip?
My best acting tip. I think you again, for people who are starting out, you have to know who you are as a performer, a potential actor, a potential performer. You have to know who you are, what your personality is like, how you walk and talk, all those things wrapped up. You know all those elements. Focus and harness and hone those elements. Don't try to go outside the box. Stay where that box is for you, and get that as strong as you can, right? If you are pursuing this line of work, you better embrace rejection, because that is a huge part of acting, is rejection, and mindless, mind-numbing amounts of rejection. That's all part of it as well. So you hone your craft, you take your classes, you take your workshops, you listen, you study, you focus on what you do the best, and find that little niche. Whatever that niche is, you get in that niche and get it really good. And understand that there's a tremendous amount of competition. There's a whole lot of people out there who want to do the same part you do, and you have to understand how difficult and how tough it is to get, you know, that break or get that opportunity to do it. It is, I cannot tell you enough. So the more dedicated you are, the more consistent you are, the more realistic you are about the fact that it is a business, you will survive as best you can.
Excellent. Sage advice.
Definitely. Well, thank you for coming on the show. We truly appreciate you.
My pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. If anyone's writing that nerd non-listener role out there, I've got it, man.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's our show for today. Sacramento Film Works has been brought to you in partnership with Northern California Filmmakers Coalition and Access Sacramento. We'd like to thank our studio audience, those of you watching at home, our special guest again tonight, Tim Russ, and also Established Apparel for Wardrobe. That's our show. I'm Klein Moore, your host.
And I'm your co-host, Kenesha Allen, and you've been watching Sacramento Film Works, where we show you how film works.